Welcome to the director's chair. This has been an ongoing show with Video Store Rejects, but now it's its own little segment where I, Cody House, the host, talk about certain directors' filmographies, one film at a time. This series has been on the films of Jim Henson and Frank Oz, and tonight to discuss the early 1991 comedy What About Bob are my co-hosts, Chris and Lindsay Jacobs. Hey guys, how are you?
Good. Yeah, we're here. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for asking. If somebody is watching right now or watching later, you might be like, wait a minute, didn't you guys already talk about this movie a couple of years ago for summer movies? Yes, we did. But the reason we're talking about it again is because you guys voted that we do the films of Jim Henson and Frank Oz. So we're discussing this movie again. What about Bob?
Well,
Uh,
Cody, I thought the same thing, and that's when I decided to go into this and look at it at a totally different way this time, and try to see it from the view of Dr. Leo. And you know what? Dr. Leo is absolutely right in this entire film.
It's completely sane.
He is, yeah.
Zero pumpkin.
yes, but here's the thing. Shouldn't have Dr. Leo basically called the cops, filed a restraining order against Bob, and this all would have been taken care of?
Well, that part is true. That part is true.
This movie is a horror comedy of errors.
Yeah, that it's definitely could be flipped around as a horror film.
Also, Bob impersonated a police officer, also faked his death, which is very problematic for actual people dealing with suicidal tendencies.
Right.
Yeah. There's definitely some things that didn't age well, and I don't know if it's because of the way I watched it this time. In the past, I was like, "Ha, that's funny," but none of it really just jumped out and was like, "Hey, that probably didn't age very well." But this time around, and I know that's kind of sad because it's taken me this long to catch those little things, but that's what happens when you rewatch films and you rewatch them and rewatch them. You may not pick up on it the first time, but sooner or later it's going to click.
Well,
And yeah, you're right. He should have just called the cops, and
From the beginning.
from the beginning, that's what they tell you in training if you've worked in an institution anywhere. They're like, look, it has happened and it will happen. These guys look out the window and see what kind of car you're driving. They memorize your number. They will pick it up somewhere. They will find your address. They will move right in if you let them. I mean, they might think that you're their best friend or long lost relative or were sent by God or Jesus himself. You never know. Or Xenu, yeah, you never know. Like, but yeah, he was perfectly right in wanting boundaries, although he was a basket case himself and had issues.
well, that was the interesting thing I read. I believe Frank Oz said the reason in his mind why Leo doesn't do the logical thing you should do in this situation is because, he's a bit of an asshole and he's egotistical, self absorbed, and he's trying to prove to his family that, oh, well, I'm a nice, caring guy, so here, I'll show you I can deal with this person.
Yeah, I
And,
really think it was like a pride thing that he was like, I don't need. He doesn't listen very well for somebody who's like a renowned therapist. He
right,
doesn't
who's so.
talk to his family. He doesn't take Bob Wiley seriously until he's in his house or one of his houses.
Excuse me. Well, even at the beginning, when Bob shows up at his office before he leaves to go on vacation, even his answers, it was very by the book. Like, okay, I've done this before. Let's crank out these answers. And he was like, well, how does that make you feel, Bob? You know, it was just like,
He was phoning it in, is what he was doing.
yeah. And he was like,
Yeah.
It's a Friday therapy
I want to give you this new state of the art, book
That I wrote.
Let's see. Oh, here it is. You know, and it's a whole shelf of his book.
Yeah, that was real casual.
Yeah.
And then doesn't tell him, oh, I'm charging you $30 for this book.
No, he doesn't. He just like billed for a copy. That's bananas to me.
So, and that was the Frank Oz's response. But of course, if he had done the logical thing of what he should have done, there'd be no movie. And of course,
Right.
the movie's all about, well, look at this wacky, crazy guy. He's just driving this man insane. And apparently, Bill Murray really did drive Richard Dreyfuss insane.
Yeah. I've heard that about Bill Murray in a lot of different situations.
Didn't he chunk a cigarette ashtray, like a glass ashtray at him?
He chunked a glass ashtray near his face, screamed in his face, "Nobody likes you. We only tolerate you."
He did that to Angelica Hudson too. He told her that nobody liked her, nobody wanted to be around her, and like had a whole party on the set of Life Aquatic.
Yeah.
Included her a dinner or something.
Mm-hmm. And apparently, they had to have, when they came back to finish shooting the movie, they had to have bodyguards to make sure Murray and Dreyfuss didn't get near each other.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I can totally see Richard Dreyfuss having like a really short fuse. He's a small man with a very red face.
And the only compliment Richard Dreyfuss has to give about Bill Murray is, well, he's a good golfer.
Wow.
Called him an Irish drunken bully.
Well, I mean.
And no.
And then Olafsson. I think I made the observation the last time we discussed this, but it's been long enough that I've probably forgotten that I did this. Like the dynamic between Richard Dreyfuss and Bill Murray is the same dynamic in a Looney Tunes that features like Porky Pig and Bugs Bunny. Or Elmer Fudd and Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
And it's
For
like
sure.
The more he pushes Dr. Leo to the edge, the more sanity and he seems to gain, or the more power he seems to gain.
Yeah.
It literally ends with him, spoiler, you should have watched this by now, marrying Richard Dreyfuss' sister, and he's just like completely incapacitated in a wheelchair.
Catatonic.
Yeah, he's taken like, he's had his Thorazine Haldol cocktail way early in the day for this special day. It's bananas.
Yeah.
It's a Looney Tune, like live action.
For sure, I definitely can see that comparison. And Frank Oz even says he didn't know if he like encouraged the behavior really, but he felt like because Bill Murray was a comedian and more like unorthodox and not organized, more ad-libbing, that he's kind of more into his aesthetic as a performer than he was Richard Dreyfuss, who is an actor who is a little more disciplined and very organized in like his process.
Yeah, and he has like an end goal in mind, and it's usually whatever the director's asking for. Whereas Bill Murray's like, I might not even be here tomorrow.
Funny thing about that is not only was Bill Murray a butthead to Richard Dreyfuss, he was also a butthead to one of the producers and threw her sunglasses across the parking lot when she wouldn't give him an extra day off from set.
Wow.
I would take away all his off days and buy new sunglasses.
I believe he also pushed her into like the lake, so similar to what happens in this movie.
Damn it.
Yeah, see, I know Bill Murray's vibe is supposed to be like cryptic and like could be the nicest person, could be the worst person you ever met, but he's just a butthead. He's like got the middle school boys playbook for interacting with other people, particularly
Mhm.
being mean to people and pushing them into large bodies of water. And
I can totally see where he and Chevy Chase probably got into a lot of fights behind the scenes of SNL, which they did.
Well,
They both
they
seem like they act the same way. Like they are
that's
both
why they can't stand each other
they're both God's gift to acting or
comedy.
and comedy, and step aside, they are royalty, and in all reality they're not. They're babies. Now, I'm not saying they haven't produced some great stuff, but you know, as actors,
Fired of their ego seems a little bit excessive
yeah.
compared to other actors.
Well, what's funny is they actually weren't cast members together. Like Chevy Chase was on the first season, he left. Bill Murray came in the second season, but Chevy Chase had come back to host, and yeah, they got into a fist fight backstage. And
Yeah.
Bill Murray has famously said that Chevy Chase was medium talent.
Wah, wah.
What's funny is they almost considered Chevy Chase for Dr. Leo, which who knows, that might have been even worse if Chevy
That
Chase
movie
and
would probably have not made it to release, I don't think.
they would have killed each other, huh?
It would have been their final picture.
Some other choices which I don't know, this would have been scary. I think they would have been crazier than Bob. Jack Nicholson, James Caan.
Oh my gosh.
Jack Nicholson was in a version of a movie.
Anger Management.
Anger Management.
Yeah.
That movie had me coming out of the Jackson Cinema 3 in Jacksonville, Texas, feeling pissed off. Like when I
Raised your blood pressure.
when I saw that movie, like the whole time I was like, oh man, this is just ridiculous. Like I mean, I get it was supposed to be funny, but I was like, damn, that just irritates me. Like the character, and that had the
Yeah.
same vibe. It had the same vibe of Leo trying to be the straight one or the sane one, and everyone else just totally flipping and being on the side of the guy who's driving him crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally like that's a theme that I've seen. I know I keep talking about Looney Tunes, but that's a theme I've seen so often as a kid, and it used to like frustrate me to the point where I wouldn't watch those kinds of things. Because it is a little gaslighty. Like everybody around the person who's being mistreated and the person who has like a reasonable expectation for interactions with other people, you see the position they're in, and then everybody else is just like, God, what's wrong with you? Take a chill pill, calm down.
Yeah. For sure though, that old couple that runs the diner, they don't care. They're like, yeah, they're like, I'll show you where the house is. We don't care. He took our house, so
not just show you where it is. We'll drive you up to like the lakefront side in a boat to make sure you get there.
we'll drop you off.
Mm-mm-mm.
I did feel a lot of especially after watching these so close together. I did feel or see some visual, and especially the soundtrack. And I meant to look up and see with the same person who did the soundtrack for Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, because it sounded just a lot like the same person did the soundtrack for both. They both had the same audio feel to it.
Yeah, it wouldn't be surprising since it's, same director.
Right.
I'll look it up and see. Miles. Some other people that were considered for Dr. Leo was Kevin Kline, Michael McKean. At one point, they tried to get Woody Allen to both star and direct in it as Dr. Leo.
Thank
Yes.
goodness that didn't come to fruition in our universe.
All right. And then Patrick Stewart.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, that would have been odd.
Probably would have made me more upset to see somebody try to gaslight Captain Picard about.
Well, and Robin Williams was someone they considered for Bob, which I could see that.
Yeah.
And Tom Hanks, because I guess still Tom Hanks was considered comedic actor at that time.
But he's too nice. He's too, like, I know that's kind of the point of somebody who's a master of manipulation, but I feel like it wouldn't have been as believable if it was Tom.
Yeah. You would just be like, why don't you like this guy? He seems okay.
Yeah, that would have been one where everybody was on Bob's side, like even the audience.
Right.
So you were right, Chris. It is the same composer from Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Okay. Yeah. And
Good ear. Good ear.
I do love those soundtracks. I like a soundtrack makes a movie.
He also composed The House Sitter and Muppets Christmas Carol.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, and did some work on Little Shop of Horrors, so he worked a couple of times with Frank Oz.
Yeah, Frank Oz seems like the kind of person that, like, once you're his pal in business, he's gonna call you when he's got any work.
Mm-hmm.
The good
Well, the actor that plays Leo's sister in the movie is a fellow puppeteer.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
It's so interesting that Frank Oz seems like such a good person and works with Bill Murray, such a butthead.
And that made me wonder, because in the movie, Leo has like puppets of all of his family and does family therapy. I was like, is that a Frank Oz inclusion? I'm like,
yeah, that never really registered with me before, with it being a Frank Oz and them having puppets.
It almost seems like a Mr. Rogers nod, because those are very Mr. Rogers Neighborhood-esque puppets.
Yes, they are.
Hyper realistic, kind of creepy faces.
Oh, and then the other person who almost directed this was Gary Marshall, but I guess he went to do Pretty Woman instead.
I haven't seen Pretty Woman in a minute, like literally since we owned it on VHS.
I have it on VHS.
I know you do.
You just say when.
He's like, I'm ready to pop it in.
I'm not sure about rewatching that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that plays now. It's basically I don't know.
The savior trope with Richard Gere trying to save Julia Roberts from
sin.
Oh, that's right, because I guess he does technically try to save her in Runaway Bride too, even though he initially is like there to write a terrible article about her.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about Runaway Bride too.
Yeah, they've reunited. But yeah, it's kind of a retelling of like My Fair Lady and Pygmalion, except instead of like, because he's still kind of like educating her to like, the finer things in life.
Right.
But it was a huge hit, made Julia Roberts a mega movie star, so.
Oh, absolutely.
But Yeah, I don't think when I was younger I ever thought about anything other than, oh, this is Bill Murray being silly and he's driving that other guy crazy.
Hmm.
Isn't this funny?
Yeah, but now you have all the context of your life experiences up to this point, and
Well, yeah, that's true. And it really is. It's hard to take a comedy and break it down and find something deeper in it. But in this movie, you truly can. Like, I mean, again, not to keep bringing it up, but we both worked at a place that there were people like this, and they tell you
oh, we both.
not to get involved in training. Well, yeah, all three of us have. And like, you notice things. They're like, oh, I remember, yeah, that's a big no-no, and that's a big, hey, that's, that we talked about that, or we witnessed that, or,
Just having to repeat boundaries ad
and
nauseum.
yeah, and you were there a hell of a lot longer than we were, so, and I'm not trying to get into that, but you do look at it in a different context, when you kind of switch it, when you kind of make your brain think that way, when you're breaking it down that way.
It's one of
Well,
those be funny if it was somebody besides Bill Murray. Or would this plot line work if it wasn't somebody that seemed functional and charming?
well, I feel bad for Richard Dreyfuss and anyone involved that had to deal with Bill Murray's shenanigans, whether he was purposely being mean or he thought it was something to do with his character. It's still mean.
Yeah.
But I do think he's really hilarious and terrific in the movie. And thinking between him and Robin Williams, I feel like maybe Robin Williams would have been too crazy. Like his energy would have been too manic. Like I think Bill Murray had just the right amount of like this guy could be scary, but also he's kind of charming.
Right.
Not that Robin Williams couldn't be charming. I just feel like if you had Robin be crazy, it could be maybe like too much crazy.
Well,
Like that movie he did in
The Fisher King.
Oh well, he's fantastic in that though.
Oh no, he is, but I mean his level of
the crazy past the point of amusing or funny. It would be like a little bit. It would be more of a horror movie than it was.
Mm-hmm.
If you just pick different music for this, a little bit different lighting.
Total horror movie. But I mean, you need someone to be charming enough that the family is like, oh, why are you so? What's wrong, Dad? He seems okay.
right.
He's just a little weird. But I mean, go ahead.
That definitely wasn't like alarmed that a patient showed up. How often had that happened to them? Where somebody
Right?
with him was just like, oh, I'm in your house now. Oh, I guess I gotta stay the night.
Like, is that something that you would think that was something he'd be like, guys, in my line of work,
this is an emergency.
Yeah, there might be someone show up at the door one day and that's not okay, or we should set boundaries, and it seems like it's something that they just didn't, they're like, oh.
It was more the vibe of if your kid brought a friend home without telling you first. And you're like, oh, I guess we got to feed this one and make sure it's a good time.
And I think that's what drove him even more up the wall, was the fact that they were just so accepting and like of this man that could have been an axe murderer for all they knew.
A very nice one.
And it's sleeping in the same room as their son.
Their preteen son, yeah.
And there's a part that I really that I don't know what it, like, I always found it funny, but this time made me laugh out loud. And he's standing there. It's after they eat dinner, and he's like, "It's gonna let up. He can go home." And she's like, "It's 1:00 in the morning," and he goes, "Shh, shh, shh," like, listen. And then it just didn't let up, and I was like, "Oh." Yeah, I got heavier, and I was like, "Oh my God!" 1:00 in the morning, he's making him sit there in a raincoat, which, yeah, and wait, like, no, you're out of here as soon as this lets up. So
I mean, even worst case scenario, he had to spend the night. Wouldn't you just put Crazy Man like in the living room, not in the same room with your child?
Right.
Yeah,
like
like
y'all
on a couch.
lock your doors, or everyone's gonna sleep in our room on the floor,
Right?
and he's
And all the
gone.
ones that are over the fireplace are coming in here too.
Yeah.
Sleep over with everybody except Bob.
Even the knives.
All the
Let's take
kitchen
all the
knives,
knives.
But I wonder what, because he's he has his own practice, right? He doesn't work at a facility or anything. And I don't know what the conception of mental illness, it definitely was not as aware as it is now. But I'm wondering if they're like, oh, he's like Bob Newhart, he just has these kooky people that come in and complain about their problems to him. They're not really crazy, crazy.
Yeah. They're functional, but they're still they're just goofy crazy.
they're eccentric.
Eccentric,
He does have like that's kind of part of the disarming charm about Bob Wiley is he has all of these, or he reports having all of these like personality disorders and phobias. So you think, well, somebody who's afraid to even leave their house surely can't be that much of a threat. But then as soon as he's there, like elbowing in on their vacation, suddenly he seems fine and he seems normal and functional, and he's not like wiping everything down with a tissue and washing his hands obsessively.
Right. Like
Even the fish disappears. Like after that
That's
first
true. What happened to Gil?
again, probably died from being carried around in a mason jar.
And where was he staying before he ended up staying with them? Like, where was he staying? Was he staying with that old couple?
Yeah, at the
they put him
store.
up for the night.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, is Bob really just pretending and he just likes to have the attention of psychiatrists?
Yeah, he does. He does seem to be more. I'm not going to armchair diagnose anybody, especially fictional characters, because it doesn't matter. But like more of a narcissistic personality disorder than anything like the whole.
When he took him to the facility,
like, OCD personality he presents as.
Yeah, when he went to the when
he tries to commit Bob the first.
When he commits Bob. And he pulls up, and she immediately hands him the phone, and he's laughing along the way, and then he gets the phone call, and he's like, "What? Wait, what? What?" And he gets right back in the car and drives out there, and like he's just charmed all the doctors
and the orderlies and the nurses, security guards,
and they're like, "Yeah, look, no, he
shouldn't be here.
It's fine."
Well, I mean, ultimately, it is up to a psychiatrist to commit somebody, and basically, they have to be a danger to themselves or others. And if they're not presenting that kind of behavior, they're not going to get committed.
Right.
Like,
that's
I
how
mean,
manipulative he is.
Yeah.
Like he shows up as this non-functioning person who all these ailments have prevented him from like living the way most people do. And then he's fine. As soon as he's got like a victim or an energy supply and an attention supply, he's fine.
Whoa. What if... So I'm just playing what if. So he mentions he was married and got divorced and comes up with a ridiculous reason why they were divorced. What if they went to couples therapy and he's just taking his revenge out on psychiatrists because couples therapy didn't work for him?
Whoa. Yeah. That's pretty dark.
Well, that's actually interesting because if you're in an abusive relationship, couples therapy usually doesn't help. Like you're not finding different ways to communicate the same values and same ideas so much as you're like trying to get a neutral third party to declare a winner.
Right. Which that's not what it's supposed to be for. But I'm just spitballing because, at the end of the movie, he it tells you that he becomes like a psychologist and writes a book.
Oh my gosh, yes. That's terrifying.
And then Leo Marvin's doing him.
I don't care how cheerful it is and how fun it is to watch. It's a horror movie.
But what's interesting is Siskel and Ebert were split on this movie. Ebert liked it. Siskel disliked it because he thought Richard Dreyfuss was too mean. I don't think he was too mean. I think he was driven insane. He was driven insane.
Yeah. he went from being kind of a narcissist to just being driven mad to the point of like, oh my gosh, like everyone around me is being engulfed in this patient that I know is who I believe is crazy, and I'm the one that looks like the crazy person or the a-hole because I'm trying to set some boundaries.
Is there anything more frustrating than like disliking someone so strongly and everybody acting like they're better than a better addition to the social circle than you are at some point?
I do have a story kind of like that, and it's I kind of lived through something similar, and when I had the comic book shop with my uncle, there was this magic card player, and I'm not gonna name any names, but what it was is he was a really good magic card player, but he was a really shit human being, and but because everyone loved him, like we had gotten involved when we came in the shop and hosted tournaments and stuff, but over time, we just realized he had a really gross behavior, but everyone just loved him and thought this dude walked on water, and I couldn't stand him. I could not stand him, but it seemed like the more I couldn't stand him, the more everyone liked him, and it drove me up the wall until one day we were finally like he had scammed some kid out of some cards, some really good magic cards, trying to teach him how to play, and we were like, no, that's it, that's the last straw.
Still candy for babies. What shame.
Pretty much. But and this guy had potential. Like he had gone to Japan to play in tournaments and to play in like some huge tournament over there, and he was really good at what he did. He was just not a good person. And but yeah, like I kind of knew, like I related to Leo Marvin because like, man, I know this guy is not good, but everyone around me just like they love him and they think he walks on water. And I'm over here just screaming in my head, like, no, he's a bad person.
Hold on. I just saw more Looney Tunes parallels. First of all, Bob's last name is Wiley.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you try to kill him.
Oh, man.
Him up.
So are you saying he's the Roadrunner and Leo Marvin's Wile E. Coyote?
I really think, yeah, I'm surprised we didn't see like Acme on the Dynamite or anything. But the fact that he comes back and like blows up the house accidentally, with air quotes.
That was something.
It's very Looney Tunes also.
Wow. I'm looking at some of these other actors that they almost thought about for Bob. It's all over the place. Steve Guttenberg, Jeff Goldblum. Okay.
Maybe.
Almost.
Maybe.
He would have to be worrying about other things if it was Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
Dudley Moore.
That would have been odd, but didn't Dudley Moore die not long after that or around that time?
I don't know. I know he died in the 90s. Michael Keaton.
Oh, Michael Keaton could have done it.
Yeah.
He could have. He has the Mr. Mom.
If you've seen Dream Team, he could do it.
Yeah.
Rick Moranis.
I don't know. Rick's too sweet.
Rick Moranis would have been a good doctor.
Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd.
I could have seen. I might could have seen him as Wiley.
If you
Like,
watch The Neighbors.
yeah, Neighbors or the Couch Trip.
Yeah. John Travolta?
Mm.
Just inherently mistrust John Travolta, anyways.
And Randy Quaid.
Randy Quaid could have done it.
Yeah, Randy could have done it.
Yeah, he's just like a chaos gremlin.
He believes in the Star Whackers.
Of what?
It's a hit squad that takes out movie stars. They're called Star Whackers. You should
Do you think he was on their list?
look up his press conference announcing the Star Whackers and I feel okay. I shouldn't make fun of him. I really feel sorry for him because he probably does need a lot of mental help.
Yeah,
And
this seems like another example of how even when you're famous, mental health doesn't seem to be a priority
yeah,
category of care for most people.
Mm-hmm. Well, I heard a really good joke though, speaking of actors who are mentally ill. There's this show called Barry, and Henry Winkler plays a acting coach in it. I won't tell you all the details, but Barry is a hitman, and it's played by Bill Hader, who also created the show. And
I've
he's
heard
talking.
that's really good.
It's great. And he's talking to, I think, an FBI agent or a lawyer, and he's like, "Do you have a weapon to protect yourself?" He's like, "Well, I've got a gun that Rip Torn gave me." And he's like, "Oh, if it was given to you by Rip Torn, that's probably real bullets in those guns."
Oh my god.
Wow.
Yeah, it's definitely
Nice.
loaded and there's
Yeah.
no safety whatsoever.
Well, because when he got older, I think he robbed a bank or something. He did something bananas like before he died, like when he was elderly.
Yeah, he was
Full Patrick O'Houlihan.
he went a little beyond Patches O'Houlihan. He made Patches look like a sweet grandpa.
Shelley Duvall was considered for the wife.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because she has that it's like that kindergarten music teacher voice that.
Yeah. Well, so does Julie Haggerty, or is that her name? Yeah.
Yeah, she does.
Oh, Shelley, she just recently did a horror film. And speaking of mental health issues, she has had quite a lot over the years. Like
Yes, which brings me back to what I was gonna say earlier when you were talking about your personal story and people loving this person just because they were talented and good at what they did. If you've never seen the movie Steve Jobs, I highly recommend it. It's a very good movie, but there's a really good quote, and I wonder if it's true. I hope it is true, but I doubt it because it's a movie, so it's fictionalized. But in the movie, because the movie's segmented into 3 different acts with different Apple products being launched because it's about Steve Jobs' life.
right.
And in the 3rd act, it's the iMac launch, and him and Wozniak are getting into an argument because Wozniak wants him to acknowledge the Apple II people who worked on that, and he's telling him he won't do it because it's a lesser product and blah blah blah. And then and played by Seth Rogen, he says it's not binary. You can be gifted and decent at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, and that's a good line.
What James Cameron could use with some advice like that. Quite a few people, honestly.
Yeah.
But speaking of Shelley Duvall and her issues because of how Stanley Kubrick treated her on the set of The Shining, which is crazy to me that he was like a total tyrant and horrible person to her, but he was super protective of that little boy on the set.
Yeah, that was messed up. At least he wasn't like Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah, he wasn't creeping on her and trying to have sex with her.
Well, there was Billy Mummy. It was the Twilight. I believe it was it Twilight episode or a Twilight episode with Billy Mummy where he blinks
Are you talking about where he talks on the phone to his dead grandma?
Was it that one, or where he blinks people into the cornfield?
I don't know, because he did it. I didn't know Alfred Hitchcock had anything to do with the Twilight Zone. He had his.
There was something that Bill Mummy said, and it may not have been that. It could have been. I can't remember what it was, but it was something with Alfred Hitchcock. And he said he wasn't holding still on his mark.
Uh huh.
And it was irritating Alfred Hitchcock. And he said Alfred walked over to him real slow and leaned down over him. And he said, if you don't stand still, I'm going to nail your feet to the floor and blood will pour out of your shoes like milk. And he said it just froze him solid and scared the shit out of him. And
wow,
did it.
I haven't heard any shit stories about Frank Oz.
And I was like, whoa, like, man, that would have scared the shit out of me too.
That's something that you could like press charges against someone for saying to a child.
Yeah. No, I've never heard anything terrible about Frank Oz, though. If you're here for when we do the score, we can talk about how terrible Marlon Brando was to Frank Oz.
Thinks he can push him around because he's a puppet nerd.
Right.
Well, he demanded to be directed in the voice of Miss Piggy.
Oh my gosh.
It's just some Marlon bananas. That's all that is.
Well, I'm going to say it, and people can at me in the comments. Marlon Brando, overrated. Overrated. He was a decent actor, but his shenanigans was not tolerated for. Well, I don't care how talented you are, your shenanigans shouldn't be tolerated. But
the only thing that sticks out in my mind when people say Marlon Brando is Superman.
Really? As Jor-El, which I heard he was kind of a butthead to Christopher Reeve on that set.
Yeah, but when you talk of overrated, I think you're completely right, because I mean,
think if you're just a butthead in general, I don't care how good you are at anything.
Yeah, like he's had memorable roles and he's done great stuff, but personally, when it comes down to it, in my mind, like Jor-El, that was Superman, but yeah, he was a butthead. Like he thought he walked on water, and
you should overrating themselves at this point.
Yeah, they have people kiss their butts so much
that they believe their own hype.
They believe, like Tom Cruise. Like, I think Tom Cruise is an amazing actor. I like War of the Worlds. I like the Mission Impossible movies. I like just about everything he's done has been great. The Top Gun movies were awesome.
Well, I don't know if he's a butthead to people. I think there's some serious mental issues with him, and how roped in and brainwashed he is. I think there's some deeper issues there.
If he could be deprogrammed, he might be
a decent.
He might be okay, yeah. And I wonder if that's why he purposely, like, they didn't have him go to the Academy Awards, because they're like, you're not winning, so we don't want you to say or do something that's embarrassing.
Yeah, I want you to mistake it for a rally at your church and
go
off the rails.
Huh.
But anyways, what about Bob? Despite us, kind of unlocking what's supposed to be a pleasant, just fun time at the movies, there's some deeper issues going on in this movie.
Yeah, but you know what? I think, again, we covered this for a summer movie series the year before last, and I think it was time to look at it in a different light, maybe a little more seriously, and at some of the issues that it portrays with mental, how it portrays mental illness and what we've dealt with, and like, we don't want to bring people down, but if it's something we've already covered,
so we got to find something else to say about it.
Yeah, you've got to dig a little.
That's the great thing about movies being like static points in time that we can revisit. as our viewpoints change and our observational skills develop and our like, of course, I don't want to like muddle anybody's enjoyment of the movie. I had a good time watching it, but I think it's more enjoyable if you can be honest and critical about the things that you enjoy from time to time.
Right.
For sure. Did you guys know that Leo's children are named after Sigmund Freud and Sigmund Freud's daughter, who is also a child psychologist named Anna?
I
didn't know that about Anna.
Well, I caught Sigmund, but I did not realize that Anna was named after the daughter of.
I'd be really annoyed if I were Anna to be named after, to be the oldest child, and to get like an asterisk historical figure's name.
Well, I wouldn't want to be named after Sigmund Freud at all, because hasn't his stuff been debunked and disproven over time? Like,
yeah, he was more messed up than he was helping people.
Yeah.
He does look a lot like Dr. Leo, though.
Yeah, he's fun in Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Caricature.
If you want to see a weird movie with Keira Knightley and Michael Fassbender, Viggo Mortensen shows up as Sigmund Freud.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a Cronenberg movie. Well, the actress playing Anna was only 10 years younger than Julie Haggerty.
Don't you love it when they
when they cast a 27-year-old as a teenager?
Yeah.
Because you can't have teenagers. They're too unsightly for Hollywood. Their voices change too much.
Well, and an adult can work the full 12-hour shoot schedule, and they're
the pesky child labor laws that get in the way.
Well, you end up tarnishing your career and getting into lawsuits when you try to back out of those corners. Just ask John Landis.
I was about to say, John Landis.
When they purposely hired non-union child actors and then, did a stunt that they were told was too dangerous to perform.
That was messed up.
Yeah. Oh, and Steve Martin apparently was considered for both roles.
Wow.
Because he can, yes.
Yeah, I kind of see that.
Because he can be the butthead. We saw it in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. He can be the Porky Pig foil to the Bugs Bunny Bob, but he's also
a Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
A Bugs Bunny, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I do like this movie quite a bit. I mean, I was a huge Bill Murray fan most of my life. I still find him talented. I just wish he would be nicer to people.
This is in our summer movie catalog that we watch every year, along with like Summer Rental and Great Outdoors and stuff like that. So it's definitely a beloved movie in our household.
I think it's one of Frank Oz's better movies as far as like his It's not as good as Dirty Rotten Scoundrels or Little Shop of Horrors, but for his like era of comedies, this is pretty good.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, I would personally put it up there with Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Not as I think Dirty Rotten Scoundrels had funnier parts. It was a little more adult, but I mean, it's definitely a close contender.
For sure. I think, despite them not liking each other, I guess it worked for the movie because, it's believable. I feel bad for Richard Dreyfuss, though. But, yeah, this is an entertaining movie.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I recommend it if you're a Bill Murray fan or a Richard Dreyfuss fan or
a Frank Oz fan or a Looney Tunes fan.
Yeah, or just a fan of 90s movies in general. Then I recommend it. It's fun. It's funny. It has great moments. It is sweet in parts, and you can view it a lot of different ways, but I think it's just a classic movie that holds up.
Yeah. And I don't care how talented you are. Be a decent person to the people you're working around. Film is collaborative. There's a lot of people that have to work on these things, and
They
not
help actors. They help your paycheck. They make sure that you
Look good.
look good at what you're doing and the way you're supposed to be doing it. You may be bringing the acting, but they make sure everything else goes on around you. So,
Mhm.
you've got to treat those people right. It goes like any job.
There's no I in team, but there is in team spirit.
Yeah. Exactly.
And look, it's not completely over with. There's still people that are butt heads to people and get jobs, but
Oh, I'm dealing with one now. Like I'm not gonna say what.
well, I don't know what the postal service is, but I understand. You should be nice wherever you work.
Yeah, I will say that my beep is really getting on my beep nerves, and you know she knows what she's beep doing.
Or they.
Or they.
Dang, Christopher,
Yeah.
come on, they got they right there.
Beep, 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 beep. I'm trying to censor myself. But anyway.
But
I thought you were talking about an upcoming piece of media that had cast somebody you don't care for, and I was like, that's what's great about the internet. Now we can just yell at movie studios that we hate that idea.
I'm talking about my job.
I know. I know.
I
but I
love what
but
I
I
love what
think
I
we are for the I think we're getting to a place where I'm gonna say maybe 50 to 75% of the time now, like behavior is being held accountable now.
Thank
Right.
goodness.
Yeah.
The bar.
I don't think it's quite 100% because Warner Brothers wants to stay in bed with the Harry Potter franchise because it makes so much money, but
Yeah. And that's another subject that I think we need to talk about here. Is the Harry Potter franchise and that whole subject is something that I've been wanting to talk about because, well, I'm really conflicted because I am still a fan of the Harry Potter series and the books but I also can see, the glaring issues and whatnot with its creator and all that. So
what you can still love something a terrible person created, but you
yeah,
don't have to keep supporting the things a terrible person does. But we're getting off tangent a little bit, but that's fine. I want to share one story with you guys. Speaking of terrible people, um, an actor that some people think is not terrible, but he is a terrible guy. So you guys know the movie Public Enemies, or at least have heard of it?
oh yeah,
Yeah. So apparently, when they were filming, they were having a lot of issues with the scenes and getting what they wanted out of it. Michael Mann, the director, was very frustrated, and he finally just said to Johnny Depp, he's like, "Oh, I know what the problem is. You can't act."
oh.
And then the Christian Bale's like sitting in the background because I guess they're about to film a scene with Christian Bale and he wasn't filming yet, and he's just sitting there drinking his coffee, and he looks at Christian Bale, and he's like, "That guy over there, he can act, but you can't act." And apparently Johnny Depp was gone for like a week or two after that.
Wow. He got in his feelings about it.
I mean, that's probably mean of Michael Mann, but now that we know what about Johnny Depp, that we know, it's kind of funny.
That's probably so satisfying to be Michael Mann, and
that's
somebody who got to say that to his face.
That's another person that I felt during that whole trial that was going on. That I felt like, man,
that people were gaslighting you about what a piece of crap he was.
Like, do you not see the evidence, the stuff that was presented in court? Am I looking at something totally different? And then everyone online was like, poor Johnny. We support Johnny.
Those are people doing mental gymnastics to protect something that's special to them.
And I'm like I'm not purposefully looking for something against him. It was presented. Like the evidence is right there. And people were like, well, he was provoked. I'm like, no, he was high on cocaine and drinking multiple bottles of wine and with an inflated ego and head. And he was
and if you put two terrible people together, they're going to be terrible to each other.
Yeah.
They're going to be terrible squared. It's going to be awful. I was thinking that when we were watching Master and Commander, because Paul Bettany was also an enabler and an encourager of bad behavior on Johnny Depp's part. And I was like, dang.
Oh, right. I forgot he was all involved in that.
And, oh, yeah, Paul Bettany.
Yeah, and he has that. I'm not trying to generalize, but he has the same kind of like Shakespearean God's gift attitude about himself.
Well, he doesn't deserve Jennifer Connelly.
No, he doesn't. But it's okay to like things as long as you can be honest with yourself about the things that are terrible though.
Oh yeah. Like
right, or the people involved in it. And it's not like you got to be like, you can feel bad. I still watch movies that have people involved in them that are horrible people, but I'm like, well, the movie's good, but I still
jam to Michael Jackson every Halloween to Chiller.
But we're also not like spending our time online defending people who've done indefensible things.
But I also know he wasn't a great person, but that still doesn't stop me from enjoying Thriller every Halloween.
Right. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard, and sometimes we make excuses for ourselves for some artists or pieces of work than others, and then other people were like, well, forget that person, But
like if you made it a smaller scale situation, we don't get to pick the families that we're born into. And you can acknowledge good and bad things about the people that you love without being like, well, I either absolutely can't even speak to this person ever again because of those bad things, or I'm going to completely ignore all the bad things because of the fact that I love this person. And then when you get to the tier that is celebrity, it's like, well, they also have all this money, which convinces a lot of people that they're great, and a lot of influence and larger platforms that reach more people. So
yeah. I'm going to try not to get off into this, but I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and I'm going to stop, and we can wrap it up. But
you tie it back into what about?
It's kind of like Matthew McConaughey. He just did this seminar over the weekend, some like self-help seminar, and God bless. I love Matthew because he's a Texas guy, and I like his stuff, and he seems down to earth. But he seems like he's taken too many mushrooms here lately.
He's like full on like Superman right now.
Yeah, he is like, and I'm like, dude, listen to yourself. You need to back down a little bit. Go back to delivering turkeys around Thanksgiving and
he listened to way too many
helping people and
shower and on his runs, and he's like, I can do that.
Yeah, like
I gotta do that right now.
And I get it. You want to help people, but he's so detached. I believe that, he has the money to feel as good as he does. If I was rich like him, I would be like floating on air every day. I would wake up on the right side of the bed, knowing that I didn't have to worry about medical issues or paying the bills or whatever. I wake up.
Survival really sucks a lot of.
And I would get online. I would FaceTime everybody, thousands, millions of people, and be like, "Hey, everybody, you can be
just as cool as me.
Yeah, be cool today. All right. Anyway.
Anyways, be a decent human being, no matter how talented or not talented you are. Just try to be
nice.
Yeah. Because you're eventually going to be worm food like the rest of us. And yeah, you might be remembered, or you know what? You can still get canceled after you die. I mean, it happens to people. So, did he get canceled?
Well, I mean, he was kind of.
I don't know. He probably needs to be.
One.
I mean, yes, he did marry a 17-year-old when he was like 40 something.
Yeah, but hey.
Canceled. Where's my big rubber stamp?
Hey, if we got to cancel him, we got to cancel Leonardo DiCaprio because he's basically doing the same thing.
I'll still watch his movies, but I don't think we should be wasting any more time writing stories about all the 19-year-olds he's scoping out.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well,
Leo, you better date a woman somewhat your age. God, just a 30-year-old for God's sakes.
Everybody needs to take Keanu's, lead, and man, he's showing it.
Do you mean Jesus Reeves?
Yeah, Jesus Reeves.
Be a nice, non-creepy dude.
Man.
And it doesn't seem to be that hard for him. He seems effortlessly nice.
He is dating or engaged to or married now. I don't know what's going on, but to somebody his own age, and they genuinely seem to love each other, and it's not creepy, and he's just an all-around nice guy.
Well, he purposely doesn't put his arm around women when they ask to take photos with him.
And that
he doesn't take advantage. That's always the argument. It's like, oh, I'm gonna get canceled if I offer to give you a high five or something. It's like, no, that's not your.
No, you're gonna get canceled if you try to put your hand on her butt. But you don't.
That hand and grab it and kiss it and be like, ooh, baby, all right. Yeah, that's gross. Anyway.
It really isn't hard, guys.
I recommend this movie. I thoroughly enjoy it. It's something that I remember my dad renting back in the day, and I've watched it ever since, just off and on. It's hilarious.
Your dad likes Looney Tunes too, so.
Yeah, my dad likes Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
But
I think that's a good theory, Lindsay. It is very much like a Looney Tunes, yeah, I guess it is either Wile E. Coyote, Roadrunner, or even a Bugs Bunny, Elmer Fudd, or Bugs and whoever he's driving crazy, or a Bugs and Daffy.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I do. I recommend it. I think it's
even like summer as a season, but I'm now looking forward to more summer movies because of What About Bob.
I think by July I'm over it. I'm like, okay, I'm done.
That's it. I'm done.
Yeah, I'm over it too. It's May. I know it's coming, but I'm like, it's been fairly mild, but I know the heat's coming. It's coming.
It's a false sense of security.
Yeah. It's coming. But thanks guys for talking this movie again.
Yeah, I think I appreciate you having us on. We always love coming on and talking the director's chair with you, the director series, and
what's next for Frank Oz?
Yeah, next for Frank Oz, I'm not sure when we'll get to it, but it's a movie I've never seen before. It's called The House Sitter. Steve Martin, Goldie Hawn, Dana Delaney.
I've seen that, and it's been a while, but I used to own that on VHS. And if it's during a time that is that you're available, that we can make it, then we'll definitely love to talk about that one.
All right, I haven't seen it, so I have no idea how good it is, but Steve Martin and Goldie Hawn, so it should be terrible.
Yeah. So, well, cool. Well, let's see. Tomorrow night we're doing our very first episode of the Observation Lounge, where we talk about Star Trek. We're going to cover 2 episodes, and it's going to be 4, possibly 5 of us on there. If anyone's so yeah, I have Chris Fitting, who was an old customer of mine from the shop, who is I tried to search who I would put on the Mount Rushmore in my friends group of Trek nerds, people not as knowledgeable as I am or as passionate. And I reached out to these people, and they decided to come on. So we're going to have Chris Fitting. We're going to have Phil Cherry. It's going to be Lindsay and I and my uncle Mark, who got me
Oh,
into it all. He's going to try to join in, and yeah, we got a couple of episodes we're going to talk about, and should be fun.
cool.
And then let's see. It looks like Wednesday for the VSR double feature, we're gonna kick off Asian Pacific Islander month. I hope I put that in order correctly. If I didn't, I apologize.
I think you know it.
Did I? Okay, I'm
I
sorry, guys.
believe that's correct, but you know they lump a lot of cultures and countries together for this month. But that's cool. That's fine. Representation.
Yeah, I hope you get the gist of it, of what we're trying to cover, wanting to cover. And we're doing for the double feature everything. Help me out, Cody. Man,
Everything, everywhere, all at once, and Parasite.
so,
They both are Best Picture winners. So
yeah. So that'll be cool, and yeah, that'll be awesome. So we're looking forward to those. And Cody, thanks again for letting us come on and talk. I know we kind of rambled for a little bit and got off onto mental health issues and yeah,
well, I guess that's a little bit in theme with the movie. I mean, there's not a lot to unlock in this movie as far as just the plot, you know.
right. I think we did pretty well with having already covered it, but going a little bit deeper into it, and looking at it in a different light. So I thought it was fun.
All right, well, be on the lookout for all those things at Video Store Rejects on the Facebook page and on YouTube and everywhere else we post things. Be nice to one another and continue to have a good week and make sure your air conditioners work because summer's coming.
Yes, it makes me want to watch Mad Max for some reason.
No, don't make me watch
None of them?
Potter.
Yeah,
Just watching it, you're like, oh my god.
Mad Max and Waterworld. Those are really two.
I will need a church fan and an endless, like a kiddie pool full of ice if you make me watch either one of those. Especially if it's double feature.
You don't want to ride the Fury Road, Lindsay?
I have enough fury for my own road, and it's shaded. The trees like reach up over the top and cover everything. I'm good.
All right. You guys have a good night. I will see you either Wednesday or Thursday to discuss the 2 Academy Award winning films. And hope your Star Trek talk goes well.
Cool. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm pretty stoked for it. So we'll beam down tomorrow night around 8 o'clock.
All right. Sounds cool. So be on the lookout for that. And thank you all for watching. Bye.
Bye.